Some family debts aren't paid with money. They're paid with blood, and they always come due at night. 20 years ago, Shadow Hollow, West Virginia. The wind howled through the ancient Appalachian pines as Alumide Adebayo stood over the fresh grave, shovel trembling in his calloused hands. At his feet lay his older brother, wrapped head to toe in traditional white burial cloth brought from their family's Nigerian roots. The knots were pulled cruelly tight. "Forgive me, Tund," Alumide whispered, voice thick with guilt and moonshine. "I should have listened. I should have slowed down on that mountain road." Their truck had gone over the edge after a brutal argument. Tund died instantly. Panicked and terrified of the law, Alumide had carried the body deep into the family's forgotten hillside cemetery instead of reporting it.
No pruperitas.
No loosening the cloth. No headstone facing the ancestors' direction. He simply dumped the body, filled the hole, and staggered home, leaving the stone crooked at the foot instead of the head. That night, the hollow claimed its first new shadow. Present-day Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Kehinde Adebayo bolted upright in his apartment, drenched in sweat, heart slamming against his ribs. The clock read 3:33 a.m. He could still feel it, cold breath on the back of his neck. The same figure that had haunted him for 7 straight weeks. Tall, wrapped in filthy white burial cloth, standing motionless in the corner of his room, watching. His girlfriend, Zara, stirred beside him. "Ken, again." "He's getting closer," Kehinde said, voice shaking. "Last night he whispered my name from inside the closet. I'm telling you, Zara, this isn't in my head. The doctors called it severe anxiety." Kehinde knew it was blood calling blood. 2 days later he was on the road, driving deep into the mountains toward the place he swore he'd never return to, Shadow Hollow. The narrow mountain roads twisted like veins through the dark forests. By the time Kehinde's truck rattled onto the gravel path leading to his family's old cabin, night had swallowed the hollow whole. Fog clung to everything. Aunt Amara met him at the door, her face etched with lines of quiet sorrow. She pulled him into a long hug that felt like both welcome and warning. Inside, the cabin smelled of wood smoke, herbal tea, and something faintly earthy, like turned soil. Uncle Alumide sat by the fireplace, staring into the flames. His eyes were sunken. When they finally lifted to meet Kehinde's, a crooked smile spread across his face. "You feel him too now, don't you, boy?" Tund never liked being forgotten. That night, the real horror began. Kehinde lay in his childhood bed when the first sound came, slow scraping against the wooden walls outside, like fingernails dragging across logs. Then came the whispering, low, bit, ancient, saying his name over and over. He crept to the window and froze. There, between the trees at the edge of the yard, stood the figure. Tall, completely wrapped in stained white cloth, completely still. It raised one arm and pointed directly toward the old family cemetery up the hill. Kehinde stumbled back. The figure began walking, not around the path, but straight through the dense underbrush, heading for the cabin. He screamed. The bedroom door flew open. Uncle Alumide stood there with an old hunting rifle, eyes wild with recognition. "Stay inside," he roared, charging out into the night. Kehinde watched from the window as his uncle fired into the darkness. The flashes revealed the shrouded figure moving unnaturally fast, dodging between trees like smoke. Then it lunged. Alumide's scream cut through the hollow as the figure grabbed him and dragged him up the hill toward the cemetery, his boots carving deep grooves in the dirt. The next morning, over bitter coffee, Aunt Amara told Kehinde the truth he already feared. "Your uncle and your father were arguing that night on the mountain road. Alumide was drunk and driving too fast. The truck flipped. Instead of doing right by his brother, calling for help, performing the full rites our people have kept for generations, he buried Tund in secret. He tied the cloth too tight. He didn't speak the prayers. He placed the stone wrong. That mistake created what our elders call the Hollow's Keeper, a bound spirit that cannot rest until the wrong is made right, or until it claims another life in the family line." Kehinde's hands shook. "Why me? Why now?" "Because blood remembers, child. Your father doesn't want to hurt you. He wants you to know the truth. He wants peace. The final night tore the hollow apart. It started with every window in the cabin shattering at once. The wind screamed like a living thing. Kehinde and Aunt Amara ran outside with flashlights just in time to see Uncle Olyamide standing at the edge of the cemetery, rifle raised, facing the tall white figure that now waited among the crooked stones. "You took my brother," Olyamide bellowed into the night. "You won't take my nephew." He fired. The keeper moved like darkness given form. It seized Olyamide by the throat, lifting him off the ground as if he weighed nothing. Olyamide's final scream echoed through the mountains as he was pulled down into the old grave, the earth swallowing both of them whole. By dawn, all they found was Olyamide's rifle lying across the disturbed soil, and a single strip of old, dirt-stained burial cloth tied around the barrel. 1 week later, Kehinde brought a respected elder from the West African spiritual community in nearby Charleston. Together they performed the full traditional rites at the grave, loosening every knot, speaking every prayer, turning the headstone to face the proper direction, and offering the words of release that should have been spoken 20 years earlier. That night, the hollow grew quiet for the first time in 2 decades. Kehinde still lives in the old cabin with Aunt Amara. Sometimes, when the mountain mist rolls in thick and the wind moves through the pines just right, he hears a calm, familiar voice carried on the breeze. His father's voice, whispering "Thank you, my son," before fading away. But he never walks near that family cemetery after sunset. Some debts in the hollow are never truly buried. If your spine tingled and you couldn't stop reading, welcome home. This is Eerie Narratives, where we dig up the darkest family secrets, cultural hauntings, and Appalachian nightmares that feel a little too real. Hit that like button if this one kept you up. Share it with someone who loves atmospheric, culturally rooted horror. And subscribe with notifications on, because the next story is already waiting in the dark. Lock your doors, respect the old ways, and whatever you do, don't ignore the whispers. Sweet dreams, if the hollow lets you have them.